local nonprofit and school board member. I'm very proud of the success we've had over the last 4 years. That success has been because of the people that we have doing the great work and the collaboration that we have throughout our school district. We've worked very diligently to collaborate within our schools and within our district for the success of students and the continuous improvement of our schools. We focus on the academic success of our students, as well as recruiting and retaining great teachers, increasing technology in our schools, and community relations as well. I want to talk a little bit about our community relations as well as it relates to our school communities. One of the highlights of our year was our convocation every year that we started our school year with, and I call it like the pep rally for all of our employees, so that we start our school off on the right foot. The last couple of years, our theme has been We Are Nassau. It takes all of us working together to ensure the success of our students. Every year, I do a superintendent survey. It's kind of like I call it my report card on how I'm doing and what we can do better. One of the things that I see over and over in that report card and the comments that are made is the unity, the family, the We Are Nassau, the support at all levels, the climate and the culture, seeing the superintendent in the schools, engaging with the students and the faculty in the schools, increased support for ESE and the availability of the superintendent. So I'm proud of the success that we've had in our school district. One thing that I instituted about 2 years ago was a superintendent student advisory council to get input from our students, our high school students from around the district. And they do a great job of informing me of what's going well in their schools, what we can improve on. They spend a day shadowing in a different school, so they get a different perspective. Looking forward to the future, I have great plans for the future of the Nassau County School District. I can tell you my plans have been adjusted since March 13th because things changed for everyone then. My first number one goal is that we have a safe and healthy return to learning for the 2021 school year as we address the challenges of COVID-19 to support our families and students as they make the decisions about the best option for them. Being effective and efficient with our resources as we navigate through the impact of COVID-19, the costs and the uncertainties related to that, to continue to recruit and retain the very best teachers in our district, because the classroom is where it all happens. If it's not happening there, nothing else matters. We want to expand our career and technical training opportunities. We've done a lot in the last 4 years, and we have much more to do. And manage and monitor growth in our district as we have a land growth committee in our district to ensure that we're monitoring growth and that whatever growth is coming, that they're mitigating the impact on our school district. Expand and integrate more project-based learning. As we start this school year with options for families, we have more opportunities than ever before to do so many great and creative things, just like teachers did after March 13th when things were shut down and when we had to change the way we do school in a matter of days. On top of all that, we have new standards that the state will be rolling out that we'll be addressing. So that's who I am, a little bit about what we've done and plans for the future.
Thank you very much, Dr. Burns. And next up will be Mr. Wagner. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Good evening. I would like to thank the NTA for hosting this virtual forum. My name is Albert Wagner. Some of you may know me as an elementary teacher at Yulee Elementary School. My personal background in education is one of being a teacher, instructional coach, and school administrator. I hold certifications in school administration, an elementary certification, school administration, and district administration. My platform focuses on the individual student's growth, intellectually, socially, and emotionally, and putting that growth above state test scores. So what is that going to look like? What am I going to do that is different than what is going on now? First, I'm going to look at the student's educational growth, because that is the primary job of the superintendent, to be the instructional leader of the district. I will make sure that our teachers have teacher autonomy. So when they are in the classroom, they can drill down to their specific students with their specific needs. I will hope that I will bring about more hands-on learning in our district. I will engage our students with opportunities for STEAM. And I will make sure that our students have rich, authentic text to use in the reading program. In the middle school program, I would like to grow the amount of course selections in regards to electives and enrichment programs. In our career and technical program, I would like to see more opportunities for students to have apprenticeships with local industries, So when they move into that local industry, they are entering at a higher entry position. School safety will be paramount. I will make sure that students are accountable for their behavior, and I will support the administrators who are holding them accountable. Secondly, I will develop an integrated behavioral health program that is geared towards the social and emotional aspects of the teacher, having social aspects of the student. Tragically, Nassau County School District lost several students to suicide this past year. Losing one is too much. I think we can do a better job at developing the social and emotional intelligence of our students throughout their entire school. Teacher retention, as superintendent, you are the face of the district. I will do a better job with customer service. When I am out talking to people, everybody appreciates my candor. But folks, that's who I am. I will speak truth. I will be accountable and transparent to you. I will make sure our school administrators and our union leadership are receiving information in a timely and organized manner. So when it goes out to the community, there is no confusion. Thirdly, I will work on teacher retention. Teacher retention is a major concern in our district. Just this past year, I saw one class, fifth grade class, have 3 different teachers between August and December. I saw another 4th grade class lose their teacher because she resigned in the middle of the school year. They are not leaving because they are underpaid. They are leaving because they are overworked and undervalued. Folks, I am not making the same promises from a previous campaign. I am talking about reimagining how your child and my child will learn over the next 4 years. I have a vision for the future of our students and a plan to put in place. I believe I am qualified with my experience and a know-how to get the job done. I know I will serve at your will, and I will be accountable and transparent to you. With my diverse work experience, I will bring new eyes and new solutions for the future of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matt Wagner. And Mr. Braddock, you are up.
I'm muted.
There you go.
Can you hear me, Chris?
Yes, sir. You're on.
Yep. Yeah, hey, I appreciate it, the opportunity. My name's Dale Braddock. Got 33 years experience in Nassau County. I'm a 5th generation Nassau Countyan. Worked in the district pretty much my entire life. I'm married to Carol Emmy Braddock, who's also a teacher. Been in the county been married for 46 years. She's been in the county for 47. Both my children are teachers. My daughter Blake and my son Bishop are both teachers. My experience started in Callahan as a teacher, coach, athletic director. For 7 years, I went back to the University of North Florida and got certified media specialist, and held that position for 5 years. I was then offered an assistant principal's job up at Hilliard Middle Senior High School for 5 years, and I was also promoted to principal there, and I held that position for 12 years. So I've got school experience, and then I went to the district office for the last 4 years as director of secondary ed. The only position I hadn't held really is the job of superintendent, which I'm pursuing right now. And I feel this experience makes me more experienced and qualified. I'm asking for everybody's vote. And I guess the issues I'm looking at probably is safety. Yeah, you know, I'm a little worried right now about going back to school and opening up. I know the teachers are concerned, and we're concerned about just the school opening. And I said in a meeting earlier a month ago that I probably wouldn't have even started thinking about it till after Labor Day to see what some of the other districts are doing and how they're preparing. We've got problems other than just safety, though. We know that we're overspending our budget, and we've got to do a better job budgeting our money, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. Our SAT scores and SAT scores are not where they need to be. For the first time ever, we're below national average on the SAT. So I'm concerned there. Right now we're losing a lot of teachers. Our climate is just, it seems like environment, our climate, a lot of our teachers are leaving our district for some are for salary, some are just for not for working environment. We've got parents that are complaining too about middle school classes aren't offering enough advanced courses. We've got fewer courses ever in our high schools. We're just it seems like we're below state average on the SAT, like I said, and with the social distancing right now going on, I don't know if it really is safe for what we're doing. I know we're going to talk about that later, but I'm real concerned. I appreciate the opportunity today. I thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Braddock. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read the first prepared question so that everybody else can hear it. And then when it becomes your turn, if you need me to read it again, I will. All right, question number 1. We believe all students in Florida, regardless of geography or socioeconomic backgrounds, would have an equal opportunity for a high quality public education. To achieve this objective, state and local governments must fund education at levels that ensure equity and adequacy. The legislature continues to put out mandates which are underfunded or unfunded. Do you believe a millage referendum or sales tax increase is necessary to appropriately fund Nassau County schools? All right, let's see who goes first. And this time it's number 4. Dr. Burns, you win again.
Thank you. Are you sure you're rolling that dice every time?
I am.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Well, in order to answer that question, I think we need to take a step back for a minute. There are many mandates and more that are added every year that are unfunded or underfunded. That is no secret. I'm gonna give you a couple of examples for this year alone. 2 things. Digital classroom funding was reduced. In a time when we must have use more technology and digital learning than ever before, that funding was reduced. Our guardian officer program was reduced in the state of Florida. Something that was mandated just over 2 years ago was reduced funding for this year. In our current budget for this coming year, the Florida Department of Education reduced the required local effort, which is what we can collect, from 3.729 mils to 3.716. And then they reduced the state revenue, so their portion of that budget, for a total decrease of $831,000. Let's add to that the cost of COVID. Right now, we probably spent over $500,000. We expect that to go over $1 million. In the Nassau County School District, our investment hasn't been in people. That's no secret. Over 80% of our budget is in personnel, and it's paid off huge dividends for us in Nassau County. Sales tax can only be used for capital projects. So when it comes to capital projects, whether that's building a school or adding on to a school, you can bond money for those expenses for needed projects. In the past, we've been able to save for up to 10 years before we build a school. I don't believe we'll have that luxury in the future. Millage, if a millage is enacted, it can only be used for operations. We do have to balance our budget, and I believe we've been very effective and efficient with our budget. Over 30 school districts in the state of Florida have looked to the voters for an additional millage or sales tax. This is not a decision that the school board or the superintendent will make. If that ever comes, the voters would make that decision. We continue to be effective and efficient with our dollars. I don't believe we're wasting money. Our budget is a public document. It's open for everyone to see. So I believe you have to take the whole picture into account when you're talking about that.
All right, Dr. Burns, thank you very much. And we will go to Mr. Wagner. Do you need the question repeated, sir? You're on mute.
There we go. We're good? Excellent.
Perfect.
All right. Folks, as a candidate, I cannot say whether a millage increase is necessary or not. I don't have that information that Dr. Burns just read off. And I don't know how any candidate can promise anything about millage without sitting down and actually talking to our business services director. However, on June 11th, in the Fernandina Observer, our business service director was quoted as saying that our revenues are projected with a 4.5 million uptick. So I got to wonder, where is that money going? Because in 2018, 2019, when the teachers were up for a raise or negotiating a raise with the district came to the table and said we had no money. And they wouldn't even talk to the union leadership. They said we have no money, we have no money. Then at the end of the year, the teachers filed for mitigation. When they filed for mitigation, the district all of a sudden had money. However, it was a one-time check for $500. It was neither pensionable or considered a raise. It was a demoralizing gesture, to say the least, to our hardworking teachers for all they do and paraprofessionals for all they do for our district. Another example of money management that I am currently questioning is the negotiation the board is having about purchasing a trailer park. It is a 1.7 acre trailer park. It is currently on sale for $425,000, but the assessed value of that trailer park is $310,000. Why are we even having a negotiation, or not a negotiation, a discussion on this? I understand it's prime location, but we would pay so much in excess of cost. And then adding on the account that we would have to move some trailers, and then we would have to play landlord and evict the people who are in the trailer park. So to sum it all up, I don't know about millage increases. I would have to talk to our business services director. I know we can do better with our fiscal management to make sure that we are taking care of our people first and foremost, and review our spending line by line to make sure that we are not spending in excess. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. And Mr. Braddock, do you need me to read the question again? Unmute.
Go ahead, Chris.
Do you need me to read the question again?
Yeah, go ahead.
We believe all students in Florida, regardless of geography or socioeconomic backgrounds, should have an equal opportunity for a high-quality public education. To achieve this objective, state and local governments must fund education at levels that ensure equity and adequacy. The legislature continues to put out mandates which are underfunded or unfunded. Do you believe a millage referendum or sales tax increase is necessary to appropriately fund Nassau County schools?
No, Chris. No, I don't. Our school board budgets now is over $200 million a year. One of my first priorities would be to do a budget review with all principals, department heads, and all stakeholders to see if we can eliminate the wasteful spending. According to the news articles in the news leader that I read several months ago, the school board spent $4.5 million on a road to wildlife. Good. And over $1 million on a police force that Nassau County Sheriff's Department is capable of. I've been in the school district for 33 years, and I've never had a problem with the Nassau County Sheriff's Department responding to anything at my schools. All surrounding counties, St. John's, Duval, and Clay, are trying to utilize the sales tax to stay away from the millage, to take the burden off the taxpayers in Nassau County. St. John's just recently raised $22 million on half-cent sales tax. I really don't think we need to do that. We don't need to penalize our Nassau County property owners. 70% of our property tax in Nassau County is generated on Amelia Island. The citizens of Amelia Island don't need to foot the burden of additional property tax due to wasteful spending or overspending. We spent over $1 million forming the district police force. We've been hiring additional executive directors, and we put our property tax initiative on the back of the taxpayers, and we don't need to do that. The burden shouldn't be put on the taxpayers. We need to do a budget review, look at our budget, turn it over, start at the bottom, and find out where the waste is. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Braddock. All right. And question number 2. In 2011, the state passed legislation to stop offering teachers a professional service contract. New teachers to the district are offered an annual contract after their probationary 1 year. What would you do to ensure our annual contract teachers feel safe and secure in their jobs? And I have rolled a 2. Mr. Braddock, you are first.
Teachers need to have security for their families. The FEA reported back in January of 2020 that we have over 2,000 teacher shortages in the state of Florida. It was a 10% increase. We've got teachers leaving the profession, low pay and no job security. We've got a flight to surrounding counties and surrounding states. All new teachers need to have experienced mentors in their schools to help them. As a principal, I work with many first-year teachers and use my department heads as the mentors. This always worked well. We need support groups and professional learning communities for our teachers. I recommend the creation of a teacher peer review group when needed for beginning teachers. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Braddock. And Dr. Burns, you are next. You're muted.
Sorry about that. One of the most important things that we can do for our new teachers is to provide them with the support that they need, especially new teachers who are coming in. This past year, we established the NBA, Nassau Building Academics, which is a mentoring program for teachers. They have mentors that are assigned to them in their school. Jean Lamar and Katie Couple do a wonderful job of mentoring our new teachers, but it was just not enough for our teachers. And then they needed someone on site at their school. We started that program this past year. We're looking to expand that for this coming year to provide them with the support that they need, the encouragement, the coaching that they need, and someone on site with them at their school. Not to mention our teacher depot that is open for them to get the supplies that they need for free, because teachers always need additional supplies. But mentoring new teachers and coaching them with someone in their school through our NBA program is probably the best thing we can do for them.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Chris. As I stated before, first and foremost, we need to take care of our people. Our district needs to put it in clear, say it as clear as can be, in big, bold, bright letters, that we are a district that will always value the talents and expertise of our staff in every department. Whether we are talking about annual contracts or professional contracts, we need to create an atmosphere that does just that. So many times I have heard teachers who wanted to do something different from what the lesson they had was, the lesson they were given. But they were afraid to do that because they didn't want to be looked at as someone who is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That is unfortunate. I have received a letter from a teacher in the beginning of my campaign. If you would like to view this letter, it's on my Facebook page and it's fully redacted. Now, this is only one person's side of the story. And so we take that with a grain of salt. But there was one line in this letter that really intrigued me. And that was, I have been treated as if I know nothing. I'm worthless and I am a villain. My reputation has been mutilated. That is hard to read from a teacher with a 21-year service to our district. Unfortunately, this teacher felt that they were no longer valued and supported by our current administration, and therefore they have moved on to another position. But this is not unique. Retaliation in our district is not unique, especially if you want to do something different and you speak up about it. To answer the question directly, I would allow for teacher autonomy and encourage teachers and administrators to have conversations about real pedagogy. I would make sure that any teacher who is being observed by multiple and have multiple observations will be observed by multiple administrators. I will establish a positive relationship with all staff and union leaders to have a real open door policy. I will meet with each school leader to discuss teacher evaluations and those who are not performing well. School leaders will need to be transparent as to why this teacher is not doing well. They will have to show me records of when they have coached that teacher, met with that teacher, and provided extra support to that teacher. I will not allow teachers to be let go for no specific reason. I believe if you are willing to learn and grow and share your talents with our school community, you have a place in Nassau County.
5 seconds.
Taking care of our people, it must be at the forefront of our district values. I will lead with transparency and accountability and expect the same from our school leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. And question number 3. In the past, the Nassau Teachers Association and the Nassau County School District have worked collaboratively on establishing district policy, procedures, and labor management issues. What would you do to encourage this relationship? What are your expectations of NTA? All right, and up first, 5. Mr. Wagner, you are up first.
I'm sorry, Chris. Which question was that?
The third one on your prepared sheet. In the past, the Nassau Teachers Association and Nassau County School District have worked collaboratively on establishing district policy, procedures, and labor management issues. What would you do to encourage this relationship, and what are your expectations of NTA?
Well, let me begin. As a teacher, I was a teacher for 7 years. In my 8th year, I became an instructional coach. I believe that you should have an open door policy. And when you evaluate teachers, you should have an ability to coach those teachers for the evaluation. As a leader, I always believed that you had to keep the union in the loop. I always worked with the union and made sure that they were either part of the solution or they knew how and why we were doing things. We may not always agree with everything, but you will, as a union leadership, know what I stand for and why I am doing what I am doing. Currently, the administration is not even asking the union leadership to be a part of the COVID-19 response team. They chose their own people. The leadership blindsided the union by announcing that teachers are going to come back early. Why was that done? Why was the union leadership not informed and part of the solution to the problem? I don't understand where the miscommunication is. I believe that you work cooperatively. We are in the same game. It's all about our children. I believe that when we work together, we will get things done in a cooperative and timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. And Mr. Braddock, you are next.
Thank you, Chris. Like I said earlier, I've worked in the Nassau County school system for 33 years. And as administrator, I always had an open door policy. My wife's a teacher, my daughter's a teacher, my son's a teacher. Our teachers are the lifeblood of our school district. You're only as good as your instructional teachers. Teachers are always on the front lines. In my first graduate class at the University of North Florida, Dr. Andrew Robinson stated that the job of an administrator is to be a facilitator. Hire good teachers who have a passion for teachers. provide them with the tools they need in the classroom, let them be creative, and always be open and fair. What are the expectations? As a superintendent, we got to have a productive, positive working relationship with the school board. We want the Nassau County school system to be the best in the state of Florida. We must increase our employer salaries and our working conditions. To be successful, we must open up lines of all communication with all our stakeholders. I believe in an open and transparent relationship with all employees and stakeholders. I always involve the teachers in the development of all policies concerning any kind of instructional policies. Many educators I've talked to recently told me that they feel their opinions aren't valued. And a large group stated they were afraid to offer an opinion for fear of retaliation. I've always told my teachers, you know, we can always agree to disagree, but I want you to come talk to me. My door's always open. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Braddock. And Dr. Burns.
I want to go back to a couple of comments I shared from the superintendent's survey about collaboration, working together, and support at all levels. Those are just a few of the many comments. The relationship, what would we do to encourage a relationship with and the expectations of NTA? From my very first day on the job, I've had an open door policy, and I mean literally, my door I don't think has been closed since that day. I also work to schedule a time every month to meet with both NTA and NESPA presidents. Sometimes things got in the way of that. We have to be intentional to ensure that we are communicating and that we are collaborating together. I'm going to give an example of Marion from NESPA. Many times I walk in the building and she's sitting in the office waiting for me, and that's fine because she's going to get to an issue and we're going to talk about it. She sends emails. We communicate regularly and work through our issues, but we have to communicate. We're all on the same team going in the same direction. I believe our intentions are the same and we want what's best for our students, but I think constant communication is the key. I believe it's important that we work together to resolve issues and that we try to resolve those issues. We may not always agree, but I think we need to communicate and collaborate together, and that would prevent some misinformation from getting out there so that we can all be on the same page. I want to go back to a comment that was made about blindsiding teachers about coming back to school. We communicated with the union throughout this process, and we've worked to do that throughout this COVID process. So I think working together, making sure we're intentional about meeting and collaborating and keeping the door open always.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. All right, question number 4. Year after year, the Florida legislature continues to push legislation in favor of voucher and charter schools. In addition, they have not been friendly to public education and continue to ask teachers to do more. As the superintendent, how would you make sure more public-friendly education laws are passed? And roll to 3. Dr. Burns, you are up.
Thank you. I am active with our legislators. I travel to Tallahassee every year, call them on the phone, communicate with them on a regular basis. I believe that we have to do that. I've been known to call them just prior to their votes, letting them know the impact it would have on our school districts, not only ours, but around the state. Most recently, I'll give one example, is Best and Brightest. Best and Brightest, there was nothing best and brightest about the Best and Brightest. Over and over, I went to our legislators and said, you got to do away with this. Give us the money so we can give decent raises to our teachers. Well, finally, that voice was heard this year. So they've done away with Best and Brightest. We have $2 million to provide raises to our teachers. What we have to do going forward is make sure that that continues to be the case, that that's just not rewarded this year and then taken away next year, because they did. If you look at our budget closely, you'll see that they did away with Best and Brightest. They did away with pay for performance, and they put those dollars into the increasing the teacher's salary. We have to stay engaged in legislation. I constantly talk to them about charter schools, being accountable, being held to the same standards that we are held to, because they're taking away dollars from public education. We have to ensure that they're accountable as well. So I'm engaged in Tallahassee. I'm in Tallahassee. I'm talking to our legislators and taking our legislative priorities to the forefront.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. And Mr. Wagner, your turn.
Thank you, Chris. I believe that we have to develop a relationship with our state legislatures. When we have that relationship, they can inform us when there's negative legislation that is being discussed. So the group of superintendents can meet and lobby against that negative legislation. And if necessary, form a group of myself and go up and lobby against legislation that is not appealing for public education. I also imagine a day when when the state representatives and the federal representatives in our district come to our school to see what our teachers are doing, to see how they are educating our students and working hard. I would like to organize this day to show off the talents of our students and talk about the success we are having. I would like to have business leaders be a part of that program. It is important that not only does the state legislature know what programs are not good for public education, but they need to actually see what is going on. They need to see what our fantastic teachers are doing and what our students are doing. And I believe in having a day where they can see that, and then we can put a bug in their ear about what great programs our teachers want to start that we can get extra funding for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. All right, and Mr. Braddock.
Am I live, Chris?
Yes, sir.
All righty. How would I make more friendly education law? Superintendents across the state of Florida and 67 counties need to work together to ensure that lawmakers understand our plight here in the state of Florida. Charter schools have lobbyists. Voucher proponents have lobbyists. Public schools need lobbyists. Nassau County School District must have a strong presence in Tallahassee to represent our county. You can develop a plan, but you have to monitor what you develop. We need an educational lobbyist. The cost would offset the grants we receive. Teachers, parents, and friends of education must hold our elected officials accountable for their actions. If our officials have a record of voting against education, we need to vote for their change at the polls. Thank you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Chris.
That's because I was muted. Just kidding. All right. So last question on the prepared questions. We support the goal of ensuring that all students, no matter their zip code, are taught by teachers who know their subject matter and how to teach it, and who are supported by well-trained staff. We believe the current systems used to evaluate teachers are ineffective and only provide a snapshot of what occurs in the classroom. What would you change about the evaluation system to ensure the evaluation protocol gives a picture of the whole teacher? And got a 6. Mr. Wagner, you are first.
Thank you, Chris. As I spoke about, I was an instructional coach for a middle school group after teaching elementary. And God bless those middle school teachers. I learned a lot, and I commend you. I always used my coaching experience when I was an elementary principal to coach our teachers during the evaluation process. In 2016 and 2017, I attended a year-long program as an assistant principal at the University of Florida, where I received a certificate for the Lassinger Certified Instructional Coach. This program would be an excellent program for our administrators to go through so they can not only be an evaluator, but also a coach. But to answer your question directly, we need to practice fairness right now. For professional staff who only see one evaluation a year, They need to make sure that there is well-documented walkthroughs by the administrator. And then an official meeting before they have their one observation. I heard so many times where those who are on professional contracts are all of a sudden in their one observation. They thought it went well, and then it didn't. But they had no idea during those times of walkthroughs that something was wrong because the administrator did not communicate that to them. So that needs to be documented. A teacher who is new or only on a yearly contract, when they have multiple observations, multiple administrators need to observe that individual. So bias does not occur. Observations need to be done in a timely manner. And you need to have an observation every year. I know someone who never had an observation last year. I also know teachers who had observations days apart from one another. And that is not acceptable. You have to give the teacher time to practice what the administrator proposed as a change. It doesn't matter if you are on a teacher yearly contract or a professional contract. At the last observation, there is a section in our evaluation called professionalism. That section should be checked on the last observation of every teacher because it shows what the teacher does outside of the classroom and how important they are to the school community. It gives you a better overall view of how important that teacher is instead of that one observation, that one day where something could have gone wrong at home on their way to work. We have no idea. It's like the FSA, all right? Just like the FSA, it's a snapshot in one day. So I propose that those changes take place immediately. Thank you.
Is it mute?
Chris, you were muted. Go ahead.
Mr. Broderick, you're up.
Go ahead. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. No, I believe the current evaluation system needs to be reviewed and modified. I'll form a committee of teachers, school administrators, and other stakeholders to review the current system. The committee will review the Florida statutes, school district policies, and the collective bargaining rules. The committee needs to meet and collect info from teachers concerning their opinions of the current system. I personally conducted many teacher evaluations as a former assistant principal and principal, and I'll use my experience to direct the development of a fair and equal evaluation system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Broderick. And Dr. Burns.
Let me hear what she says.
Sorry, thank you. I think we can certainly update our evaluation system. The union is involved in that process. I think we need to make sure that our educators are being evaluated by well-trained staff, but also, as I mentioned earlier about the NBA program, the Nassau Building Academics, that could be another level of that evaluation, non-punitive evaluation, but the input of their mentor, their coach, and their peers. I believe it's a great opportunity now as we embark on a variety of learning options for our students that we include portfolio information. Students can engage more than ever before in project-based learning and other activities that determine the success, their academic success and their accomplishment and their success in meeting the goals that were set for them. And I believe that this will be a great time to do that and that we can look at the evidence of student growth overall. And that would be one tool we could use to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. All right, now we are going to go into the unprepared questions. Again, same format. You will have 3 minutes per question. All right, first question deals with COVID-19 pandemic. The first question, From the time the pandemic started, what have you learned and what would you do differently? First up, number 3, Captain Dr. Burns, you are up.
I'm going to start from the beginning on March 13th when we were leaving for spring break and we got the word that we were closing schools. Didn't really know much about, I'd heard a little bit about COVID-19, but really didn't see it as something that was going to impact our communities like it has. So what I've learned is that this is a serious situation and that everything surrounding it is constantly changing. You know, we shut schools down and changed the way we did school in a matter of 3 days because of COVID. And now here we are planning to come back to school based on the mandate of the state and the Department of Education later in August with COVID here with us. I've learned that we have to be flexible. We have to make sure that we're addressing the safety concerns of our students and our community. And that even though we have a plan put together for our safe return to school, those plans will be changing. We met just yesterday with the health department leaders, and we realized there's continue to be more things that we have to do and more things we have to address. So this is real. No one, as I said in our board meeting last week, no one has ever lived through this or opened schools in the midst of a pandemic. So I know that we have to be flexible, and our first priority coming back to school is going to be the health and safety of everyone and offering them the options that they need so that they can make the best decision for their family. But I've learned that we have to be flexible. We have to pay attention, garner all the information we can from the experts and make the very best decisions for our students moving forward. But this is an ever-changing situation.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Next up, Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Chris. You know, I agree with Dr. Burns that no one was prepared for this. But what I learned from this is that communication is so important. I do not believe that the district did a very good job in communicating with the school community. I don't believe that they were very transparent in how they worked with the union leadership. You know, I put out a video the other day about what I would have done as superintendent. And I talked about how, as a parent, I got this survey of these are my options. But it was so hard to make an educated decision because I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know what e-learning was going to look like. And if it looked anything like it did at the end of last year, I definitely wasn't going to do that because we were not prepared for that. We don't have the instructional materials to move along. And our students were forced to do review work for 8 weeks. So I don't want that for my child. I understood I didn't know what the classroom would look like. So I think a video would have been important to show this is what a classroom is going to look like. This is what e-learning is going to look like so the parents can make an educated decision. I have learned that cooperation is key and that you need to be transparent. When you are not transparent, information is leaking out and it only creates fear in the community. I believe that if we were more transparent in what we were doing, how we were doing it, what supplies we're buying, where the supplies are going, that there would have been the parents would have been more at ease. So flexibility, communication, cooperation, those are all things that I think we learned throughout this program, throughout this crisis. But more important, we need to make sure that we are prepared to have quality education for our students. And I got to tell you, the last 8 weeks of school last year showed that when we don't have vetted instructional material, then all of a sudden we don't know what to do. And we are forced to do 8 weeks of review lessons for our students. Thank you.
And Mr. Braddock.
Chris, I stated over a month ago, you know, I just I don't feel good, and I still don't feel good about it now. I said I would start school after Labor Day, and now I'm not even sure I would start it then. Now I know by statute we got to have 180 days of school, but as long as we could go in September, we may end up back in the day we used to go into June. So, I don't know, for the safety of our teachers and our students, if we should even think about in August. You know what I'm saying? But we when you get high school students, middle school students together, we saw that graduation, across the district. Students, it's just hard, as far as that 6-foot rule, it's going to be almost impossible to enforce. Our class sizes are going, we don't know, with our elective classes, how many we have in our elective classes. So it's just going to be hard to enforce. In the life of our students, they're not worth the learning experience, this is going to be a school year unlike any other school year. So if we have to start in late September and we have to extend it and do something with, some of our activities and do them later, we may have to extend the eligibility with Florida High School to let our students have more playing time, But we know that the kids it's going to be hard to enforce the mask, the distancing in high school. We might get away with it in our middle schools, maybe our elementaries, but in high school, it's going to be hard. We know we got to go 180 days, but we don't know, if we started in late September and see how the other districts do, I think that would be a prudent decision. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Braddock. Moving on to second unprepared question. And that question is, describe the current district culture in your own words, and what would you do to improve it if you think it needs to be improved? All right, and Mr. Braddock, you're up first.
But state that again. You broke up a little.
Describe the current district culture in your own words, and what would you do to improve it if you think it needs to be improved?
Well, we know that teachers are our lifeblood of our system. And right now, I think with what I've seen and talked to teachers, we've got a lot of teachers leaving the system. We never had this problem before. And when I talk to them, a lot of times we know their salaries in the state of Florida, 36 out of 67 districts, we know they're not good in Nassau. We know we can improve that. But a lot of it, they tell me it doesn't have to do anything with salaries. It's just the environment and the things that are happening in the school system and taking away freedom to teach. Teachers are creative. They want to be able to go in the classroom and be creative. And when we, drill down teaching the test, it takes away that creativity and they want to go, to other systems. We got to let our teachers teach. And we got to treat them as professionals with respect. And we got to pay them a living wage. Not only our teachers, but a non-instructional too. Always starting with the bus drivers, custodians. We're losing people. And I talked to a non-instructional the other day and said after she pays her insurance, takes home $0. That's not right. That's not right. We got to do better. And we can do better. We just got to take that budget, like we said, and turn it upside down and look at it. But we got to put our teachers and our employees and our students as our priority. Safety is our first priority, but also we got to have a living wage. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Braddock. Next up, Dr. Burns.
I shared earlier, and I've shared a couple of times, some comments from the superintendent survey, which I'll use as a report card for how we're doing, but I know that doesn't represent everyone. I also mentioned earlier that I had established early on a State of the Schools Council that was made up of people throughout our community. And we met several times, and basically they said, we don't need to meet. Let's just call us if we need us. But what I know is that we have so many positive people in our school communities. Teachers are the lifeblood of what we do. I say it over and over. Without teachers, there would be no other profession. And if it's not happening in the classroom, nothing else matters. But I also am very much aware that there is a group that do have some concerns and that maybe don't feel like their voice is heard. And so I believe, and I think I would state it at the end of my comment, that I need to bring that council back, just like I have the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. Bring that council back of our teachers or our employees that feel like their voice is not heard. But I am in schools every day. I talk to employees. I mentioned that earlier about Marion being in my office. It's not unusual to walk in and see a maintenance man in my office or a student from the adult ed in my office. I believe that I constantly communicate, but I am not, I am cognizant that there is a group that we certainly need to address and that we need to do a better job. Teachers are leaving education. That's a national issue everywhere. We've got to take care of teachers everywhere, from the White House to the schoolhouse. Teachers and teacher salaries have to be a priority for everyone. I mentioned that earlier, that this year the legislature did something. Last year we gave a raise to teachers when we really had some economic struggles, but we believe that that's what we needed to do. So we hope that we can continue to do that and support teachers so that we have the very best teacher. I mentioned also earlier that our investment is in people in Nassau County, and the people in the Nassau County School District are what make it great.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. And Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Chris. I agree that we have some tremendous people in our district. I have never worked with such talented people that have to do so much. I have been in other districts. I have never seen teachers have to do the amount of work that our teachers in our district has to do. And that's the honest to God truth. I have never seen that before. We need to make sure our teachers have a balanced life, because they don't. We have teachers who are not only young teachers leaving our district in the middle of the school year, but we also have teachers who are seasoned teachers who said, I'm done. And they're done because they don't have a balanced life in our district. I know a seasoned teacher who left and started her own business, and she is happy as can be because of the amount of time that she can now spend with her children. When a teacher comes to start the day, we want them at 100%. Well, when they go home for dinner, I don't want them at 10%, 20%, 30%. I want them to be happy, vibrant, and have a great conversation at dinner time with their children. Teachers need to be valued in our district, and they are not. As soon as you speak up about changing anything, all of a sudden you're being retaliated against. And that is not fair. And that is a big fear in our district and a reason why teachers leave. They are not having the autonomy that was promised to them 4 years ago. I believe in working together. I believe in making sure that we are not teaching to the test. Teachers do want to be creative. They have so many valuable talents, but they are subjected to pigeonhole lesson planning, and they are bored with it. Their students are bored with it. We can do so much better to make sure that we are meeting the individual growth of our students. It can't be about the FSA all the time. Yes, we realize the importance of the FSA, but it can't be about that. We have to look at our individual students and our teachers and make sure they are able to teach outside the box without fear. There is a lot of fear in Nassau County because there is a lot of favoritism that goes on in Nassau County. You know, I really believe that teachers and staff and school communities should have a valuable part when interviewing when a new administrator is going to come into their school. They should be part of a panel that the candidates come in and they face the teachers and they face the staff. That starts the bonding process right there. And now those principals are then accountable to what they said during their interview to the teachers. Teachers just want to make sure that they are valued and treated fairly.
15 seconds.
Thank you.
you, Mr. Wagner. And the next question. All right, let's see. This falls under curriculum instruction. What will you do to increase teacher autonomy? Should teachers have professional judgment in their classroom? Examples: deciding how to use tools like Lexia, AR, and others, not being mandated, but their choice. Mandated and scripted centers, required anchor charts, etc. And that's a 2. Mr. Braddock, you are up.
Chris, I believe in just teacher freedom. You know, I said a long time ago, I didn't want anybody to say back when the FCAT was our assessment. I don't want to hear the word all year. Don't say the word FCAT. Just teach the standards and the test takes care of itself. Teachers need to have freedom. You know, I've said it before, let our teachers teach. You know, we don't need to script it for them. You can't treat an 8th grader like you treat a 5th grader. You know, our middle schools are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I had a middle senior high school, and I've seen it firsthand. When you've got a 6th grader that comes in, and then you watch him mature for those 7 years, and he's a senior, you cannot treat a middle school student like an elementary student. You know, we need to get back to like we were and let our teachers teach and have some teacher freedom. You know, small groups, you know, there's a place for them, but they shouldn't be mandated. They're not the end all. You know, we got to let teachers be creative. I used to enjoy just going into the teachers' classrooms and seeing, you know, sometimes I didn't want to leave because the teachers were creative and they were just so interesting, you know. And when you see that and you see that light bulb go off, you know, that's the teaching moment. You know, it's not script. You got to let them teach. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Braddock. And next up is Dr. Burns.
I want to share a story I've shared in the past. Just a few weeks before the pandemic, before March 13th, I was in a middle school talking to middle school boys in the cafeteria. I visit schools every day, so that's one of my favorite places to be. And the boys were telling me what they like. We were talking about sports and what they didn't like. And I said, okay, tell me something good about this school year. And the answer from these middle school boys was, teachers are teaching and we're learning. And to that, I said, yes, that's exactly what we want to be about. I do believe that as teachers teach, so that test will take care of itself. I do also believe that teachers should have some flexibility and freedom in their classrooms. I was one of those teachers who taught like my hair was on fire and was excited about teaching and learning, but it didn't always look the same. And it may look different depending on what was going on and the needs of the children that day. I've said this over and over. I don't want cookie cutters. I believe that teachers can use AR to benefit their classrooms, but what it looks like in my classroom may not be what it looks like in your classroom.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. And Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Chris. You know, I heard that saying before. I don't want cookie cutter lessons. You know when I heard that? When I was going through the process of being a teacher in Nassau School District. But you know what it is? It's exactly like that. There is no freedom of choice. And if Dr. Burns has been around in the classrooms, I haven't seen her. In 2 years, I've never seen her in my classroom as in the school district. So, you know, again, there is a fear that if you go off script, that you will be looked at as a person who's not doing what you are told to do. That is not acceptable. We need to value our talents, the talents and expertise of our teachers. And I can't say that enough. We need to take care of our people. You know, I heard 2 years ago, we wanted to do project-based learning, but yet I'm not seeing it. You know, I hear, I don't want cookie cutter lessons, but that's exactly what's going on. And if you're not recognizing it, then that's a problem. You know, I have the experience as a school administrator and the certifications to go in and observe a lesson, unlike the current superintendent who doesn't have those qualifications. I can observe a lesson and know exactly what it is I'm looking for. And you know what that is? The first time I walk into a classroom, I just want to have a feeling. I want to have a feeling that the kids are excited about their learning. I want to see organized chaos going on within the classroom. So when you first walk in, it doesn't look like anything's going on, but sit back and relax and let the teacher show you what is going on and the magic that they are creating in the classroom. I believe that if a student needs extra time in small group, that group of students should be given extra time in small group. They should not have to leave in 20 minutes for the next group of high students to come in. Those high students do not need to see a small group table every single day. That is what I'm talking about when it comes to teacher autonomy. I want you to make sure that you are directing your lessons towards the individual student's needs, because it is about the individual student. No longer are we just going to move students along, whether they're a 1 or a 2. You know, I was told that one time, that if the student's a 1 or 2, let's just move them along. It's the middle of the year, move them along. We need to focus on the students who are on the borderline of passing the FSA. If I had a child that was a 1 or a 2 and I was told that they were just going to be moved along, I would be furious. That was heartbroken. That was heartbroken when I heard that. We need to have heartfelt leadership that understands the creativity and values the expertise of our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. All right, the next question deals with ESE. What is your take on teaching academics versus functional life skills for secondary education exceptional students? And Mr. Wagner, you're up again.
Thank you, Chris. In my background, I used to work with students who had autism. So I know how hard it is to work with students who are still going to the bathroom in diapers at 9 years old, or who cannot communicate effectively. I know how hard that position is. And I know that our teachers want what's best for those students. And I believe it is so important that they have life skills. They need to go through, that should start earlier than just high school. We need to have students who are in the SE program, they need to learn life skills to make sure that they are successful when they leave our school. So I completely agree with that statement about giving lessons and life skills to our students who are in the ESE program. But you know, it goes further than that. It goes back to the individual education of our students and in making sure that when we are teaching our students, we are teaching on their level. Again, that child probably needs extra practice. Let them sit in a small group for a few extra minutes to get that extra practice. Stop making FSA questions for every single time. Let the students just practice, get the skills down. Let them feel that accomplishment in the classroom. That is what's going to drive them and have a better feeling about education. They don't want to be left behind. They're trying to do everything they can, but they are just being left behind because of the pace of the instruction. Our math program, the entire curriculum was taught by mid-February. That's a fast pace. And if you have a child who's an ESE student who needs repetition, they weren't keeping up. Thus, they were probably getting low scores on their tests. That's not what education is about. We need to make sure that our students are growing and they feel success. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wagner. And Mr. Braddock.
Thank you, Chris. Well, it would determine on what the IEP says. As far as we know that we want to have a balance. You know, we want to be able to mainstream them, but at the same time, we want to teach functional life skills, prepare them for, you know, I prefer teaching the basics, and anytime we can give a student any kind of life skills or hands-on or something, even work work release, anything that we can do to get them out and show them what it is on the outside and teach them a basic skill so they're going to be productive when they leave us. You know, every child's different, and that IEP dictates what we do. And, you know, we just got to go what the law tells us to do and try to have a balance as much as we can and treat every child different. If they have a problem, then we need to address that problem. I know that I've had parents call me all the time. We're sending a lot of our students to Duval County and other counties to get some of the services. I'd like to look at that and make sure we can take care of our own. If they live in Nassau County, I'd like to see if we can take care of our own kids here and make it so they can have a balanced and productive life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Braddock. And Dr. Burns.
There are a couple of things here where, of course, you know, the state mandates that we have to teach the standards, but that's not enough for these students. We want them to have life skills so that they can be productive members of society. And just a few of the things that we're doing in the Nassau County School District, we have vocational rehabilitation program where they're doing job skills training during the summer. We have a project that I am very passionate about called Project Search. We partner with Baptist Hospital Nassau, and our students are training for jobs at Baptist Nassau. They're working on resumes, interviewing skills, and working at Baptist Nassau. And they graduate from that program at the end of the year, and many of them have been offered jobs there. And that's what we want, is for them to be productive members of society. Another project we're working on right now, we're going to call it the Tiny House Project, but we have a building that we're turning into a tiny house so that some of our students with autism and other disabilities can go and learn life skills so that they can be more independent and live independently. When you talk about ESE, that's something very near and dear to my heart. I'm sorry that Mr. Wagner has not seen me in his classroom, but I'm in classrooms every day. And I can tell you one classroom that they know me by name. Every student in that classroom is one of a very special ESE classrooms because I'm in there on a regular basis. But we want to ensure that these students are getting the best education possible so that they can be as independent as they can. And their parents want that for them as well. So I can tell you that's an area that we've worked to improve, and we're offering more and more opportunities for students with disabilities. Yes, we have to teach the standards because that's what the state says, but we are infusing them with life skills so that they can be more independent and successful when they leave us.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. All right, next question comes from extracurricular activity and sports. How do you propose to improve accessibility for students to participate in extracurricular activities? And 2, Mr. Braddock, you're up.
Just repeat that question.
How do you propose to improve accessibility for students to participate in extracurricular activities?
Very carefully. It's going to be a challenge, but we know that, you know, our students are itching to get back and, you know, start participating. Now we know that the Florida high schools delayed the start of high school football and volleyball. So it's going to be hard, but, you know, the good thing about most of our sports, if we can do them outside, we think that, you know, with the large numbers, as long as we can keep them outside, we can keep them pretty much safe. But we've got to go with what Florida High School Athletics Association tells us and go with their protocol. Now, you know, we know that some of our schools are already out, you know, practicing. Now, we know the season's been delayed, but it's going to be a day-to-day thing. I see probably an abbreviated schedule this year for our high school athletics. I don't think you're going to see a full schedule. But, you know, it's an important part. You know, I hope that, you know, that the Florida High School will look at it. And if these students are denied participation like they were in the spring sports, that we can go back and do something as far as eligibility goes. You know, students live, boys and girls across the nation, they live for that senior year. And I just don't think they should be denied the activities or the to participate. Now, if it's delayed and abbreviated, that's better than not having it all. So I'm hoping that's what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Braddock. And Dr. Burns.
Chris, will you repeat the question? Was that related to COVID or just overall?
It just says extracurricular activities and sports. How do you propose to improve accessibility for students to participate in extracurricular activities? So you can address during COVID and normal times.
Well, I think this year we'll have more opportunities because of having different options for our students. And we're also in option 2, we're offering some flexibility for them to come and go from their campus. But if we're talking about during this time, you know, sports have been delayed and students are working out in smaller groups, but also we have some protocols in place for our return to school plan for band, for our clubs, and for our other organizations within the school. So we'll have to start out small. We'll have to be creative, just like we're doing here today, and use Zoom. One of the concerns has been for drama. Students have been practicing for dramas and working on productions. And I just had a call today about a concern about that. And how are we going to do our drama program? How are we going to have our performance? So we're going to have to be more creative. But I'm not sure about that question. I'm not sure if it's related to COVID overall, but we want to expand opportunities for our students. And we're even looking at in the future, especially now when we have more options, can students participate across schools? You know, there's something offered here that's not offered at another school. Can they participate in some of those after school activities? So we'll continue to expand those options, but if it's related to COVID, then we're starting very slowly with many protocols in place, and we'll continue to build on that, hopefully as things improve around us.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. And Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Chris. You know, one of the things I've heard about access to sports at the middle school and high school levels, and they said, if you want your child my oldest daughter, to go in sports, you better know somebody who knows someone. So that is going towards the communication part. You know, a lot of people who are brand new to the middle school or high school, they want to know. And we need to be transparent on how the process works. That is the main thing I hear about it. But if that question, you know, is access in regards to, you know, maybe their child, maybe they don't have health insurance. Maybe they need to help getting to a doctor. We need to figure out what is the block that is making sure that students can participate in sports. I want to make sure that we're transparent in everything we do. So, you know, there is a place for the parents to go and get all the information they need and to see who is in charge. And to make sure that we are responding back to those parents in a timely and efficient manner. Our high schools are huge. Our middle school at Yulee, 1,100 students. That's a lot. So I understand when our coaches get bogged down with a lot of questions, but we need to make sure that we are helping them out and making sure that the parents are getting access to the information they need. Hopefully you don't need to know someone that knows someone to get into sports. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wagner. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick out one more question, and then we're going to use the remaining time for all 3 candidates to have their closing remarks. So one moment here while I find, because boy, there's a lot of questions left. I'm going to go with retain and recruit. Why is it you believe we have such a high turnover in our county? Now, we did kind of address that already, but I believe it's important enough with it we need to address it again. So one more time, very short question. Why is it you believe we have such a high turnover in our county? And that's 3. Dr. Burns, you're up first.
Why is it that we have such a high turnover? That was the gist of the question.
Affirmative.
Okay. I think if you look across not only the state, but the country, teaching is different and teaching is challenging. When I started teaching, teachers got into education and that was going to be their life's work from now on. What we're seeing overall, and not just in Nassau County, but throughout our state, people are coming into education. they're spending a little time, or they're saying, no, this is not for me, and they're moving on to something else. Some of them come back, some of them don't. And we're also seeing some folks who have had another career coming into education as a second career. And I happen to think that some of those they're doing a great job. They're doing a great job in our district. I was at a school today where teachers are collaboratively planning. And one teacher that I love to encounter when I visit that school, she says all the time that being in Nassau County is like being in the promised land. I love Nassau County, and she came from another district. However, I'll go back to what we said earlier about recruiting and retaining teachers, providing them with the support that they need, ensuring that they're successful. But I will tell you this from my experience as an educator, there are some folks who are not going to be teachers. They may think that's what they want to do, but they get into education and it is not for them. And teaching is certainly challenging, more so now than ever before. And there's so many other things that we have to address in our classrooms and our schools related to mental health and safety and other things besides just the curriculum and the instruction in the classroom. And our people do a phenomenal job. We do have an exit interview process. And I had a teacher that retired just last year who came and met with me, and she shared with me her concerns and the things she liked and the things she didn't like. So we are trying to monitor that more closely. But I think as we continue to make Nassau County a great place to be and a great place to work, when we have our recruitment fairs, we have people from as far away as Washington State and as close by as Duval County coming in Nassau County to teach. But we also want to continue to improve and make sure we're providing the support that they need so that when they come to Nassau County, they want to stay in Nassau County.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Chris. I spoke about teacher retainment as a major concern in our district. You know, I spoke to a teacher in December and I told her, I said, look, you're just going through growing pains. This was a teacher who had lots of experience coming into the district. She talked about her experience and she was so excited to share her talents with our school. But that excitement dropped. And the reason that dropped is because of the extra work they have to do, writing FSA questions, finding materials in their classroom. I'm telling the truth. In the districts I have been in, I have never seen teachers work so hard as they do in this district. Our teachers should be focused on the pedagogy of their lessons, not on trying to find materials, scour the materials, and write FSA questions. This teacher eventually, she did stay in December, and she told me she didn't talk to me, she would have left in December. But she ended up staying till the end of the year, and then she ended up leaving anyway. I agree, we have teachers from all over the place that come, but they don't stay. And if you're not seeing the reason why they don't stay, is because they're not valued, their experiences are not allowed to be a part of the curriculum because they have to do what they are told to do. If you're not seeing that, then I don't know how many schools you're visiting. Our teachers are overworked and undervalued as professionals. We need to make sure that they have the preparations and materials to go at the beginning of the year. They know what it is they're teaching. So they have the time to review those materials and create a lesson that is going to engage our students. They should not be spending hours searching their closets for materials to go to a meeting and then having those materials not even being used in any future lessons. So now they have to read new material, scour that, and write FSA questions. This is what I'm talking about. This doesn't occur in other districts. I believe in valuing the teachers. I believe in making sure our teachers have autonomy in the classroom. That's what's going to keep teachers here. When they love what they're doing, they're
30 seconds.
Again, when they love what they're doing, they are going to stay. Good teachers will follow excellent leaders. And we need to make sure we have the excellent leaders in place for them to follow.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. And Mr. Braddock.
As far as retainment and recruitment, I had a teacher call me the other day and said, the school climate. It was a toxic environment. It wasn't a positive environment. That's why they were leaving. It wasn't a salary, even though we're 37 out of 67. A lot of teachers they accept the salary when they come in, even though we know that the beginning teachers are getting that raise. We got to make sure that everybody across the board, we can't have a 10-year teacher making $2,000 more than a beginning teacher is getting 48. But retainment, we've got to treat people like we want to be treated. I've always said, I'm a golden rule, treat people like you want to be treated. We can't have any kind of a toxic culture where they don't feel like they're appreciated. There's a teacher shortage. Like we said, there's 2,000, we're 2,000 teachers short now. When you start bringing a substitute teacher in, they try, but they're not trained and they're not professionals. And the students are not getting what they would get from a certified teacher. They teach more minutes. We've got to instill and go back and put our planning periods back in. We've got a lot of teachers that are teaching now without, no planning. A little planning before in the morning, some after school. I know teachers that are staying 5 or 6 o'clock because it's on a planning period. But the bottom line is, we got to treat them as professionals and treat them like we want to be treated. Thank you.
Thank you to the whole panel. What we're going to do now is I'm going to roll the dice one more time, and you are going to have an opportunity to make your closing marks. We are definitely going to run over because it is 19:29 right now, but you have up to 5 minutes. I will warn you at your 30-second mark. And let's see. And for Kathy Burns, you go first again. I'm going to check that dice. All right, Dr. Burns.
Yes, you do. Check that dice. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in this forum today. And I just want to say a few things. Planning time. We've increased planning time over the last 3 years and adding additional half days to planning. When I started in this role, teachers did not have planning time during the day. It's one thing that we've tried to add and work on every single year, as well as increase opportunities for our students with art and other things in our schools. In the Nassau County School District, we've been successful. And I say we, because I'm going to go back to the comments of the superintendent survey, talking about the culture, the climate of bringing everybody together in unity in the We Are Nassau way, because it certainly takes every single person working every day to do their very best job, from the bus driver they see first thing in the morning to the last person they see in the afternoon. Every single person in this district is a very vital part of what we do. Yes, we have a graduation rate of 93%. We're ranked 4th in the state. We've increased planning time and collaboration for our teachers across the district, but we still have a lot more work to do. I think we've been successful and there's more that can be done. When I was sworn in as superintendent, my goal was to work every day for the success of students and the improvement of our schools. And that is what I've done every day. And I do believe in treating people the way you want to be treated. That's how I live my life. Success isn't overnight. It's when every single day you get up and you get a little better than the day before, and it all adds up. Our work is not done. There is still much work to do in the Nassau County School District. We are winning. Our students are successful. Our communities support the Nassau County School District and the work that we're done. If you like the direction that we're going, if you're pleased with our success and you're identified with the goals that I've set for the future, I would ask you to join me in making Nassau County School District the very best in the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. And Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Chris. Again, I want to thank the NTA for hosting this virtual forum. This process of going through as a candidate is a grueling process. I have learned so much from being out in the community, talking to small business leaders, citizens, and leaders of corporations. The one thing I hear all the time is communication and how the district needs to improve in being transparent with their communication. I really believe that we can do better. We need to stop this exiling people and putting people on the sideline. We need to stop the we know better attitude. We need to stop that you are on a need to know basis and you don't need to know right now. type of communication. That is not acceptable. I am talking to the teachers, the union leadership, and the school community. I will be accountable and transparent with you. I will serve at your will. This is a job of service, and I will never forget that. I am always a teacher at heart. Throughout all my career, I have never stopped being a teacher at heart. This is a career of service. I am not running on my last name. I'm running on the future of our students. I want to see in the next 4 years a new direction of instruction for our students. A new direction that includes hands-on learning, teacher autonomy, engaging students with STEAM activities, making sure that all students are growing at their individual growth, intellectually, socially, and emotionally. You know, we need to do so much in regards to making sure that our teachers are not fearful of retaliation when they do something that is opposite of what they were told to do in a lesson, because they know better. They know that they can make this lesson better for their students. That's not acceptable. We need to make sure that we are transparent and accountable, and that is the type of leadership I will bring. I will make sure our school leaders are transparent and accountable. And that is where I want to go with the district. I have a vision for the learning of the district. I hope you choose to go with a new direction towards that learning, from getting away from teaching to the test to more about your child, your individual child's progress. That's where I want to see it grow. I want to do better with our teacher retainment.
30 seconds.
Yeah. I have a vision for the school district, folks. I'm not running on my last name. I'm not running on promises that I made 4 years ago. I am running on the future direction of the instructional growth of our students. And I hope you will choose that instructional growth to get away from teaching to the test to more about your individual student. I appreciate this process. I thank you very much for your support. Visit my website, Albert Wagner, for Nassau School Superintendent. You will see a page called Transparency. It's every forum we have participated in, questionnaires we answer.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
Make the judge. Thank you and have a good day.
All right, and Mr. Braddock, to close us out, you're up.
Thank you, Chris. My number one priority, Chris, is to keep our students and teachers safe this year. I know that we need to, we got a budget review we need to take care of. We know we're overspending our budget, but we need to cut our wasteful spending. We got to give our teachers and non-instructionals a pay increase. I'm always available. I always have been. I've always had an open door policy as a principal. My number is 845-7015. I'm in the phone book. I've got 33 years in experience in the county. I can use it. I want your vote on August 3rd. Early voting starts August 3rd. Call me anytime, 845-715-266-3838. Okay? But we got to keep everybody safe. I don't have the answers as far as exactly what it's going to be day to day, but I know that safety is our first priority. Just got to treat our teachers as professionals and give them the pay they need. And I think we'll take care of ourselves here in the district. We've got some dedicated people, but we got to keep everybody safe. And we appreciate the opportunity today. But if you have a problem, call me at 845-7015. I'd love to talk. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to give great thanks to all my NTA staff and the FEA help that we got. And thank you to all the candidates for participating. I hope it was very informative to everybody that was out there listening. It will be posted for review and on Facebook and I think one other place. So again, good night, enjoy, be safe.
Good night, Chris. Thank you.
You're welcome.